With the full reveal of Path of Exile 2's 0.5 Return of the Ancients update concluding, it is safe to say that this is the biggest update since the early access launch. There is massive changes coming to the endgame, including all new endgame loop, a whole new Atlas passive skill tree, and Atlas Ascendancies, and a lot of people are generally overwhelmed with the changes, and there is a lot of questions on how the endgame looks and how it works. So the first big change is the Infinite Atlas itself. Now we still do have an Infinite Atlas, although all players will have the same Atlas map now, and the Atlas will also have fixed locations for each of the league mechanics. So some of the examples that they gave are Abyss will always start off by spawning on the east side of the map, whereas the new sort of Sea Expedition mechanic will spawn on the south side. But once you fully complete a league mechanic questline, you can choose where the next one will spawn on the Atlas, and most league mechanic areas will have their own hub. This is where the main NPC will be, as well as being able to open the portals for the boss fight with keys or fragments and that sort of stuff. These are very good changes for players, as it will grant you sort of a ability to sort of discover stuff and share it with the community as you discover stuff, as everyone will have the same Atlas. And the league mechanic change is also really great, as you spawn off by knowing where the league mechanic exactly are, but once you've done them once, obviously you have some agency on determining where you want the next league mechanic to spawn. So if I wanted a breach to spawn at a certain location on the Atlas, I can click that area and spawn a breach area over there. So the new fortress mechanic will spawn sections within the Atlas, and these sections you will have to complete in order to gain access to the boss, as well as gaining your Atlas skill tree points. And these can be activated by first activating a tower, and that will sort of start the fortress mechanic. This usually will take around 2-3 maps, and within the fortress it'll contain a bunch of maps inside, as well as specialized fortress maps which we have to complete in order to complete that section within the fortress. And also the maps that are in these fortresses, some of them will be more interesting maps with different mechanics laid on top of them. So like some of the examples that they gave are maps that may have all rares that are trapped within an essence, or all monsters that are trapped within strong boxes. And there are 8 different fortresses that will spawn, and you have to complete all 8. And completing a map within the fortress will grant you your Atlas passive skill tree points, and I'll go over the Atlas passive skill tree soon, but that is the way that you're going to be collecting your Atlas skill tree points. And some of the more interesting things about this is that you'll be able to actually complete a full section, and that will grant you all the passive skill tree points for that section. So for example, if you just wanted to rush to complete the fortress section, you can do that, and you won't be missing out on your Atlas passive skill tree points, as when you move to the next section you will be granted all those skill tree points. Overall, this is very nice, as you can sort of pick your playstyle, whether you're someone who prefers to rush the fortress, get all your points as soon as possible. You can do the least amount of maps possible in order to get your full Atlas passive skill tree done. Or if you're a player that wants to sort of discover all the maps within the fortress, like I mentioned earlier, there's some very interesting maps that you can do with a lot of layers of league mechanics attached to them. And as for the pinnacle bosses, so the Arbiter of Ash is no longer the last pinnacle boss, but there will be a new one. But as for the Arbiter of Ash, you can still find the fragments via citadels, but now the citadels are actually in a fixed location. That way you're not relying on no RNG anymore to find the citadels and find the right citadel for the fragments, etc. And obviously following and completing the new fortress questline will grant you access to that new pinnacle boss, and although you may complete it once, it will be harder the next time you do it, so the quest version of the boss will be easier, and once you've done that you can kill it multiple times after again by doing the same sort of stuff, but it will be a bit more difficult. And once you complete a fortress, you can generally just go around the Infinite Atlas. You don't need to do the fortress if you don't want to, and they have made the other maps even outside of fortresses a lot more interesting. So there's stuff like multiple rogue exiles in a map, and some of them will be in pairs, or you can make all the mobs magic packs in a map. So this is really cool, and it changes the way you play and it makes each map feel different. I think players are going to really like this one, especially with the current way that the map system is, and it can feel very repetitive. And it's also very cool that you don't actually have to do the fortress if you don't want to. You can do what you were doing before and just explore the Atlas as you wish, and it will be a lot more fun and interesting. So overall, there is quite a bit of decision making and agency around how you want to play the Atlas now. Instead of like completely following one direction aimlessly, you can choose whether you want to try and complete a fortress, maybe you want to go for certain league mechanics, maybe you just want to explore the infinite Atlas, and each map is obviously going to be more interesting, so that means you're more incentivized to sort of do those. Overall, it's a very exciting change for the endgame, and it should freshen it up and make it feel a lot more fun and exciting. So let's just talk about the new Atlas passive skill tree that we have. So the new Atlas passive skill tree has a lot more points. I think they said something around 160, maybe there's more, and there's going to be a lot more choice, as well as you being able to actually allocate every single point on this Atlas passive skill tree, which is a lot better because some of the choices that they have will be multiple choices, and generally there's a lot better points and more interesting stuff that you can get. So there's stuff like rogue exiles that can go into different maps that will make them stronger, but also make them drop better loot and specific unique items for target farming. There's also stuff that they've shown around wisps that can possess strong boxes now, and those strong boxes and monsters within those strong boxes will give you additional loot and better rewards. And not all the points, as I mentioned before, are linear, and some of them you can actually select from a choice of different points that you want to allocate. So like one of the choices that they showed is a multi-node choice on the tree, where there's a 25% chance for shrine buffs to be reapplied to you when entering the boss arena, or you can make it so there's a 25% chance for a boss to be buffed with a shrine buff, granting it obviously more power but also more reward. And there's also some other multi-choice stuff around league rewards and league mechanics. So one of the ones that they've shown is where powerful bosses contain an additional essence, or you can pick between that or a summoning circle or rogue exiles. So the idea behind picking these is that they will sort of fit your playstyle more in terms of either buffing yourselves to make things easier, or buffing the bosses or mobs in that area but giving you more loot, or just picking which league mechanics can show up more and that sort of stuff. I think this is very good, again providing more agency for players and giving you the choice to sort of decide how you want to play and how each map feels for you, and whether you want the maps to be easier for yourself or whether you want them to be difficult but more rewarding. And last but not least, for the major endgame mechanics is the Masters of the Atlas, which is basically your ascendancies for your Atlas. So now, yes, you can have ascendancies that go onto your Atlas. You can find them in the Atlas. They haven't said much about how to find them, but they will give you sort of a quest to do in order to gain access to each of their points and tiers. So there will be multiple tiers of rewards that you can select for the masters, and there are in total 3 different masters that you can have, and each tier will contain 3 different options. How many rewards they have is currently unknown. There's been some images of 4 different Atlas points that you can put on these. And yes, the cool thing is that you can swap between these from map to map, picking up whichever ascendancy you want depending on what map you do or which mechanic there is within a map. Now this is nice, as it's not like your actual ascendancy for your class where you're sort of stuck to one. You can sort of switch in and out between different points, different ascendancies as you go along, depending on whatever you're feeling in the moment. And these points will generally grant you stuff like map bosses give you an additional unique items, or other stuff where strong boxes have 100% increased chance to be unique, and 100% of the amount of chests are going to be rare. There's obviously many other points, and obviously they all have sort of different themes. All these sort of masters that they have, the 3 different masters, they will have sort of different themes to them. Some of them will sort of make it so bosses drop 2 unique items, but you only get 1 map portal per pinnacle boss and that sort of stuff. So it's very cool to see that they're heading in this direction where, again, they're just giving you a lot of choices and a lot of different ways to play the map. So, you know, kind of like in PoE 1 where you have an Atlas passive skill tree and you can swap between it. as you want. So it's great that they're deciding to do that and they're not locking you in. And as I mentioned in the beginning, the 0.5 patch is going to be huge. It contains a lot of endgame changes, and this is sort of the main focus for this patch itself. And this is just sort of scratching the surface in terms of the sort of endgame mechanics, the fortress mechanics, the sort of passive skill tree that you have now, and the sort of masters of the Atlas, the ascendancy points that you're going to be having. There's also a lot of other changes in regards to the league mechanics, and they've been reworked completely with new questline, as well as the new league itself and all the rewards attached to that, as well as almost every league mechanic getting some sort of new rewards. And obviously there's uniques coming and everything else with this league, so it's going to be a massive update. Still waiting on the patch notes, but yeah, it's again massive improvement to what we currently have. Let me know what you guys think below if you like the video, and let me know if you want me to do a video talking about the new endgame rework mechanics. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Subscribe if you like the video.